Let's continue in this lesson and giving some tips for working successfully in an open source project. First of all, identify the maintainers, the leadership. Study their work and how they operate. There may be just one basic maintainer, perhaps a so-called benevolent dictator. More likely, there are also subsystem maintainers that handle certain key components. The Linux kernel is a good model for how that might work. The job of a maintainer is to understand and review everything that is submitted as a patch to the work. You should make sure that you're not just adding a complication or introducing bugs. The maintainer also has to make sure the work doesn't conflict with work submitted by other people. They have to do their work in a timely manner and not leave people impatient or dissatisfied. And they have to treat people with respect. It's very important to have a good relationship with the maintainers you need to deal with. Be respectful, be patient, and also be helpful. Review other people's submissions, help debug things. Don't just expect service on your own work. It's important to get input early and work out in the open. Don't go very far without getting some feedback from people. There's probably a lot of history in the project. Your idea might be an old one. Perhaps it was discussed and rejected in the past, but maybe it's worth looking at again, but you should know the history. A very bad idea is to just introduce ideas and say somebody should do something. That's a good way to be ignored. People expect you to work on things. If you can't handle having other people look at your work while you're doing it, don't work in open source. It's important to contribute your work in digestible pieces, in small meals, not in very large code dumps. People get overloaded and overwhelmed when you give them a lot of code at once, and it's very difficult to test individual parts if a lot of things are done at once. It's okay if not everything will work until you're done. People can still digest things bit by bit with the idea in the end it will all work. Don't be thin-skinned. You may get quite a bit of criticism. Some of them may be rather blunt and difficult to deal with. They may even go over the line and be offensive. If somebody is being offensive, it's a good idea to rely on members of the community who've been around for a long time to try to calm things down, resolve issues, and let them be the one that get rid of trolls if it's necessary. It's rare that people have to be removed from a community, but it does happen. Don't discriminate or offend. This is pretty obvious, but it's very unwelcome to do any kind of discriminatory or offensive conduct with respect to any kind of category, such as race, sex, sexual preference, religion, national origin, politics, etc. It's very often the case, very different people with very different politics from all over the world, different religions work together. This is a great thing and it should not be interfered with. Be patient, don't expect everything at once. Long-term relationships will really pay off. There are contributions which are rejected because somebody just throws them over the fence and leaves and doesn't intend on maintaining them for the future. So even if the work is good, it's unacceptable to include it. So that's just a few tips for successful working in an open source community.